Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. This is episode number 48 for Tuesday, June 5th, 2018, just in case you didn't know the year. So it's June already, guys. June brings us what? Brings us E3. Yes, we got our big pre-E3 show tonight. But before we get into all that, let me introduce our other co-host for tonight. We have Mr. Agaskles Stamos. Agaskles, I'd like to mess you up when you're trying to do social media stuff. How are you?
Rocking the mic on the boards, as always.
All right. We have Mr. DBQ Hams. DB, how are you?
It's the most wonderful time of the year. I'm great. It is E3.
That's right. It's exciting. Sort of, I guess. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out tonight's episode. And finally, well, I shouldn't say finally, but we have, I don't even know. We have
Captain Swissguard.
Yes, Captain Swissguard. I don't know if I should salute you or.
Sounds like a children's character. Hello, Captain Swissguard.
He called me the Admiral, but I'm not sure if I'm an Admiral, so I'll just say it's I'm his at least equal.
Hello, everyone. I was trying to rack my brains to have some sort of Shakespearean quote because I'm not as eloquent as Picard, unfortunately.
But Team Picard, though, that's nice.
Definitely Team Picard.
Team Picard. All right.
I actually have a onesie for one of my children that has
too much. Nope. Moving on.
I thought you'd say for you, but that's all right. You say it for your kids.
Team Picard. So
that's fine. I thought you were gonna say it was for yourself, so I'm glad you said it was for your kids.
That's what I was worried about too.
You paused there for a second, so I was like, "Whoa, okay, it's fine."
I was getting some unexpected pushback from that. I was like,
"No, no, it's fine. You're cool." All right, so we got lots to talk about tonight. I don't know. Are we gonna try to get into an hour, maybe more? Because it's a lot in our agenda. So we'll see. We'll see how the time goes. But let's get started. So let's start with E3 2017 and some of the things that were maybe promised but maybe fell short on delivery there. So we got a couple things here. On the rundown here, but I actually want to bring up a couple things before I get to those. So on the Microsoft side, because that's kind of my thing for tonight, so I'm going to kind of jump into that. A couple things that they had announced on their stage. I think the big one was the BioWare's Anthem. That was supposed to come out this year. Obviously, that's getting pushed back to next year. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see. I don't know if they've actually given out a firm date on when that's coming out, but we got...
this it's coming out this fiscal year. So EA in their earnings call said that it will release in the fiscal year, which gives them up until March, the end of March of 19.
Right. Okay. So, all right. So that's cool. And then another big one, Crackdown 3, which is supposed to be in November, I believe, or they just said maybe winter initially, but that got pushed back. Supposed to be, I guess, till spring of this year. That didn't happen. So we haven't really heard anything about that yet. So hopefully that's something's going to come out during E3 and hopefully not a cancellation, but I'm assuming they're going through with that. And then one that's kind of near and dear to my heart was Minecraft's 4K mod pack that they were going to release. I don't really know if they ever said that was going to come out, sometime this year. I thought they had said it was going to be within the next year from E3 to E3, but I haven't really heard anything about that. So I believe that's supposed to come out now in June. I think it was the last thing I saw or heard.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's like Microsoft's press conference was like the Sony press conference of 2015, where it was all just promises and Kickstarters. So
yeah, it was. So that was, I'm a big Minecraft guy, obviously, if you've been watching the show for a while. It was a cool, upgraded graphics, more or less. Still blocky, but still it looked nice. Nice water effects. It was very beautiful water effects, lighting effects and stuff like that. But still haven't seen anything of that. So we'll have to wait and see. When I'm sure they'll probably show more of that this next week on the E3 show in their press conference. So with a total announce date on that. So those were mine. What are some of yours now? DB, let's start with you. Anything that you saw from last year that hasn't come out yet or maybe disappointed on?
Oh, well, that's a whole different question, right? The disappointment versus what hasn't come out, right? I think unfulfillment. I don't remember a game okay, so Fez and A Way Out, maybe the EA games. There was a whole sizzle reel from the Microsoft press conference around indie games that we're still waiting for. You know, there was a couple of dungeon crawlers, there were a couple of roguelikes, there was that really kind of neon Blade Runner-esque game that looked really kind of cool. You know, thinking back last year, Agasicles, as we were talking about the Microsoft press conference, you know, those are the things that were kind of interesting and exciting to me, and they're nowhere to be seen yet. So again, indie game, small dev team, I totally get that, and I'd rather have them spend the time to create their vision of what they want to create. But you know, in Microsoft's case, that feels like the unfulfilled kind of sizzle reel aspect there. And
Cuphead came out though.
Yes, it did, and it's a wonderful game. Yeah, Cuphead was my indie game excitement of 2014, 2015. So yeah, you know, that did come out. Yes, and again, my knock on Sony, you know, they've been strong on showing games, but not always strong on telling me when those games are going to be coming out. So we'll see what this year. They've at least told us that they're only going to focus on some key big games here. So that's mine. How about you, Swiss? Any unfulfilled promises from last year that are worth bringing up?
The only thing is Skull and Bones, I guess. I was kind of surprised that they delayed it so far out, just because it felt, I mean, they had the whole gameplay, you know, demos and whatnot when they were there, so it's a little surprising. But for the most part, I was zeroing in on Nintendo, and you know, they had Mario Odyssey and it released to much fanfare, and so not really. The big thing for me was the Microsoft Xbox One X, and just being intrigued by the fact that they were going so heavily towards like pushing the hardware rather than you know, talking software. But so I didn't have as many irons in the fire, I would say.
I guess, Cleese, how about you? Anything that was disappointment from this past year?
So, you know, Swiss brings up a really interesting point that I really hadn't considered, and that's, you know, is the promise of the Xbox One Scorpio kind of unfulfilled? For me, because I'm a very easy to please gamer when it comes to the Xbox platform, maybe I haven't felt that it is. It just kind of makes everything better. But not to harp solely on the exclusives argument, because I'm not fully in line with the rest of the media about that being such an issue. But there hasn't been a lot released that's special for the Xbox One Scorpio, and I really hadn't thought about that. I mean, I have Forza 7 and I haven't even played it, and that like was the only thing that I could even qualify as a release title for the Scorpio. But also to echo what Swiss mentioned about Skull and is it Skull and Crossbones or Skull and Bones? Skull and Bones. Which was my big game coming out of that. Of course, that my own heat for that has been a little deflated after the experiences of Laser League and Dreadnought. But yeah, it's a big deal that it got delayed, because I mean, great Scott, it's built on the engine from an Assassin's Creed game like 2 iterations ago, right? So like theoretically that game should kind of be done. So yeah, but the things I mentioned is Sea of Thieves, you know, it came out, but it hasn't been the silver bullet that everyone was making it out to be, and I don't place that maybe entirely on Microsoft. It's Rare, and I don't really know that Rare's done or accomplished anything like this in the past, so it's kind of new territory for them. A lot of buzz, a lot of heat around it. Kind of it's kind of like Microsoft's No Man's Sky. Not as bad, but it's down that vein, right? Of just a game made by a kind of third party developer that had a lot of marketing effort by the console manufacturer behind it that isn't quite achieving what they hoped. And of course, there was just the nosedive of Star Wars Battlefront 2, which people aren't even talking about that game in 2018, right? And I haven't even heard or been cognizant of whatever DLC is dropped about it, because it was just such a train wreck from coming out the gate. So that game is very much coloring the dialogue for E3 in 2018. However, and so that's significant, but that game itself was just kind of very much DOA.
One more thing, I think, to circle back on the Microsoft. I think, wasn't it at E3 that they announced that PUBG would be Xbox console exclusive for a while? Obviously it's on PC, but it's odd how far we've come in 12 months. Because at the time, PUBG was, I guess, considered a coup, and then we had Fortnite kind of blow right by it. So Prime would disagree, obviously, but
well, I mean, at the time, yeah. I mean, when it first came out, it was pretty big. But even at that point, Fortnite was already starting to chip away at its popularity. And I mean, I think it's still popular, but obviously, I think there was an article recently, maybe this week or last week, I can't remember, where they were saying how the player base has dropped tremendously over the last few months. So we'll see what happens with that. I guess that's kind of a disappointment too, just because I mean it's still in game preview, PUBG. So I mean I thought by now it would be out, officially released. It's already officially released on PC. That was at the end of the year last year, I believe, or early this year. But we did get the new map, so I mean that's something. But we'll see what happens here this year. And just real quick, not just to harp on Microsoft, that wasn't my intent or anything, but Nintendo, obviously we had the online service was pushed back a full year basically. So hopefully we'll see that we're supposed to see that this year for sure, supposedly. And then I don't know if you guys have anything on the Sony side maybe that you're disappointed on, since I'm not a Sony guy anymore. I don't have any Sony stuff that's more than like 5 or 6 years old.
No, I mean, I think they've given us big games and releases. They've promised a lot, but I think we're still waiting. Days Gone, they continue to trickle things out. I think that there are pieces here and there, but on the Sony side, at least last year, they finally just focused on games and not kind of far off promises. Those that kickstarted Shenmue 3, I think that there's a couple unfulfilled promises there. But anybody waiting for the episodic version of Final Fantasy VII, the remake, but those are not necessarily in Sony's court in terms of where the responsibility for that lies.
Yeah, I would say if we were going to mention a big thing, as a thing undelivered from 2017 was simply the pushing back of both The Last of Us and Days Gone to calendar year 2019, right? I mean, I don't know that I don't know that either of those days either of those games had committed release dates for 2018, but I think most of us surely thought that one of them would be released in 2018. And then in kind of the Formula One way in which you're not supposed to favor one of your drivers or the other, right? It sounds like they told the Days Gone team to hold up for Last of Us. But then what I don't get is, but then you delay. Now you have them both coming out in the same year again. So that actually makes me more worried, because I'm like, so is one going to be Q1, and then are we not going to see another one until a holiday release? Because I don't want to wait for. There shouldn't be a reason for Last of Us Remastered to not be until holiday 2019. So just weird and funky and a little disappointing.
Actually, I do have one thing. Sony not playing nice with the other kids on the playground. No crossplay. They don't want to do crossplay still. Nice. Fortnite obviously was turned on accidentally at one point. They don't do it on Rocket League. They don't do it on Minecraft. So I mean, come on. Can we just get out there? And, I don't even know if they've really ever given a reason why. Maybe it was just like an infrastructure thing, or not infrastructure, but like a security thing or something like that. I think at one point, maybe, I don't know. I think that was when the Minecraft was first starting.
Yeah, what they claim is it's because of their I don't want to say their license. It's because of the statement in their EULA, right? That they, it's somewhat on them to guarantee an experience within their own garden, right? And what they don't want is, what they claim they don't want is the bad behavior of people from other ecosystems, presenting behavior to their users that they can't control. And I'm like, but they don't police that now anyway. So I don't really know, what difference that makes. But that's their claim.
All right. So any other poo-pooing on the developers and publishers out there.
Oh, we got a whole show of that. So let's go ahead and get started.
All right. So let's get started here. So we're going to go through actually each of the developers and publishers, some of the big ones, Microsoft, Sony, EA, Bethesda, Square Enix, Ubisoft. We're each going to take one and kind of just go through, see what they need to do for the upcoming show, and see what we'd like them to do. So I'm going to go first. I have Microsoft, good old Microsoft. So we have a couple of kind of categories we had written down here. What do they need to do and stuff like that. As far as like competitive, trying to stay competitive, I mean, they're pretty much done for this console. I mean, I shouldn't say done, but I mean, they pretty much lost the console war for this year or for this generation. I don't know if they're actually looking to, try to come back or even try to win it or anything like that. I think they're just trying to set up for the future, maybe. We got Game Pass, obviously, which is had come out this year. I'm actually part of that now, and I'm enjoying it. Actually, I think if they can build upon that, and get some more exclusives in that, they've had a few now for the past few months. Battlecraft, what was it called? That robot one, I can't remember now. I forgot what it was called. Like kind of a blocky Minecrafty. You build your old robot game, and have it. You set it out there to fight with
Nintendo Labo.
No, not that one. I can't remember what it's called right now, but so is that one. There's been some other basically kind of indie ones, basically. If they get some bigger titles out there, make it more like even if it's just internal publishers that they have that they can start shooting out exclusives on there. And obviously some of their the big exclusive like Sea of Thieves and State of Decay, that those have come out to the Game Pass. But if they can get kind of other big maybe new titles, I mean, I think that's another thing that they need to start doing. I mean, I love Gears. Well, I shouldn't say I love Gears. Gears is okay. I've never been a huge fan of it, but Halo, State of Decay, they have Sea of Thieves, which is the newer IP. But I think they need to start getting those new IPs out. And I know a lot of times at the end of the cycles, a lot of companies start doing that. So hopefully, especially now where they're at, they can start chugging out the newer IPs and get them out there and just get some things excited for the next generation.
So do you think we'll see new IPs, or are we going to see new iterations on old IPs come Sunday's press conference?
What we're probably going to see is probably the latter, is maybe a new interpretation of some of their older IPs. We know, or at least I think we know, that Fable is supposed to be coming back. That's being worked on. Whether that's like totally out of the wheelhouse of gameplay wise of what it was before, who knows? I mean, I think it was verified that it was the Forza Horizon guys, or like an offshoot team of that company that's starting to do that.
Is it Playground, right?
Playground, yeah. I couldn't remember the name of them. Yep. Which news story today that it looks like Microsoft's going to buy them. So we'll see if that's true or not. But
which would dovetail perfectly with that story, right? If they are bringing Fable back, with it being just a priority, real estate franchise for Microsoft, it would make sense that they would scoop them up. In the press advertising that's been that this is the year that they're going to acquire some studios and start focusing on making games.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm just hoping. I mean, even things like in the past where they did Halo Wars, obviously that was Halo, but it was something different. If they start, even if they do things like that, I mean, at least it's something different. Most people will probably cry about it, like, oh, this is not Halo, or this is not Fable and all that. But I mean, at least it's something different. At least they're trying something different. That's fine. At least they're doing something different with those IPs. But if they could start churning out those new IPs, actually, one thing I just thought of right now, which was an exclusive back in the day, I think it went multi-plat though, was Splinter Cell. I know that's gotten some press lately, but if they can get that going, maybe on just Xbox, because it was an exclusive at one point, just to run on Xbox Pass. Excuse me, Game Pass. I think that would be pretty big. That would get some people over. I mean, not a lot, maybe, but I mean, it's kind of a niche because it's like stealth. Wouldn't get me because I can't do stealth games, but at least it's something that are going to get people hopefully excited for Game Pass and just that game and everything like that. So we'll see what happens. But like I think they're gonna. Unfortunately, I think they're probably not going to have too many new IPs. I mean, obviously, we already know probably Forza is going to be there, which should be Horizon probably this time around.
Yeah, so it should be for Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah. So we'll probably see that. We'll probably see. Well, obviously, hopefully, Crackdown. We'll hopefully see. I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully, if it comes out this year, it's getting an extra year basically of baking in the oven, as we like to say sometimes. A lot of people are saying Halo 6 is probably going to be announced and maybe even come out this year. I don't see that happening. Maybe announcement, but I don't know if it'll come out this year. But that kind of leaves like, well, okay, what else do they have? So hopefully that's where they kind of fill in with those, those new IPs. I'm sure Anthem is probably going to be big on their stage probably again. They'll probably show maybe a lot more than that. They did have a little bit of gameplay last year. Hopefully they'll have a little bit more, maybe flesh out, story or something. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see here. What else did I have? I think that's about all I had from Microsoft. Anybody have any other comments on Microsoft?
No, I think I'm going to be really curious to see how much is focused on games and how much they lean into services. And to me, that it's not about the Don Metric era. It's about kind of their positioning for what comes next. As you said, Prime, that they're positioning themselves so that it's not about console generations. It's about iterations, right? That we're going to be giving you new upgrades to graphic cards and processors to buy on a regular basis, and take that kind of PC model. The PC piece I think is going to be. I'm really curious to see what Game Pass, as somebody who enjoys Game Pass as well, to see what they roll out next week, and if there is a PC tie into Game Pass this year that you can play those games both on Xbox, but also on the Windows Store. And I think that has potentially, suddenly expands that audience quite a bit. The amount of free games that you would get through Game Pass to play on your PC would be very significant and would suddenly establish the Windows Store as a much bigger player within the PC marketplace too. So I'm curious about that and where they go that direction.
I think they just do that with the first party stuff now, right?
It's what they do now.
Yeah. Well, Thieves and like State of Decay and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's not clean. So earlier in an episode this year when we pulled the thread on that, it's like it's not every first party game. It's like a very limited subset. So we put out a warning then, like, for PC gamers, don't like go full throttle thinking that every first party game is coming over to PC via Games Pass. It's
right.
At the time it was like out of like a dozen or more first party available games, there were like 4 that were available as cross-play to PC that you.
Yeah, it was very minimal. And so that's why I'm curious to see if they roll that further and make that a real kind of cross-play piece, right? As you talked about with Fortnite, right? If people can already be playing multiplayer games cross-play on Xbox and PC, suddenly does this give Windows, they're not about the platform that they're on, but they're about the service. And it goes into, as you said, aggressively, right, that Microsoft's push in cloud services and other functionality there, that it's not about the hardware that they're producing, it's about the services.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to mention was you had mentioned Xbox One X being kind of the unfulfillment of that system. Hopefully, I don't want to say hopefully, but I guess I want to see them like put out a game and just use it, like the total potential of that. And yeah, it might close out the OG Xbox One and S. Maybe not the S so much, but probably most likely the the OG Xbox One. But just get something out there that's going to show off the power of that. And just like you said, there really wasn't anything. I mean, I guess Forza, yeah, probably was like the darling for that thing. I mean, and that's car porn. Obviously that's always going to look nice, and that's it's a big deal. But you need to have something else out there. And I guess I don't know if PUBG was supposed to be part of that too, but I mean, I don't see how, since that was a game preview, and obviously it wasn't. It's not even maximized for some of the other systems, much less the most powerful system they have. So hopefully they will show something. Even though I know they've said that they're not going to do that, but hopefully they kind of go back on the word on that part and say, hey, here's a game that we want to put out there. We're using, maybe not the full power of the X, but most of it, and this is our big thing for this year. So hopefully that comes about.
Yeah, so the additional things I would mention is so we do have one confirmed reveal, if that means anything. So there will be a price cut on Xbox One X during the week of E3, so it's going to drop from $499 down to $450. That's a nice get. There's a bunch of other sales that they're doing as well, including Xbox Live Gold and/or Xbox Game Pass for $1 for a month.
Yeah.
And $10 off controllers. Those are always nice.
And also physical Game Pass cards and Xbox Live for 50% off. So a 6-month Game Pass card, you can get 50% off, which would give you a year at $60 versus $120.
Yep. And for my own additional prediction, I'm also expecting, I don't know if I would call it DLC, because I don't really know what the licensing arrangement or sales model is for Master Chief Collection, but I guess I'm expecting what we would normally call like DLC for Master Chief Collection. The Halo franchise titles that weren't in the original MCC, which are what is that ODST and Halo 4?
It would be Reach. ODST was an add-on if you purchased it within within a certain window that you got ODST for free. Otherwise, you could purchase it. So really, it was only Reach. But yeah, they've been teasing something about the Master Chief Collection, and I wonder if that's Reach or if that's some type of crossplay PC aspect, or who knows what.
I guess what I'm expecting is Reach and some type of multiplayer thing.
Goodness.
Extra maps, new maps, remastered maps, something.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time here on Microsoft, but I think the point is that there's a lot of question marks about Microsoft, right? That they're in an odd place within this generation. They've got the most powerful hardware, but they're in the back seat behind even Nintendo in terms of what they're going to do. And so there's a lot of question marks, to me at least, in terms of what Microsoft does on Sunday.
But that's right, DB, and that's what makes them dangerous. Right? I mean, it's a no pressure E3, right? They can't win the console generation. They launched their big hardware thing last year. Does that make them more or less dangerous is the big question.
Yeah, I think that it makes them more interesting than they've been in a long time, right? And last year we knew what we were kind of getting out of it. We had questions about games, but we knew we were going to get a hardware focus. The year before that we got a whole lot of games that were canceled. So this year it will be interesting to see what we end up with.
And I hope everybody got my Top Gun reference on the Iceman bite. That may be lost as I realized, as I asked my kids after I came out of Avengers Infinity War if they knew who Grimace was, because I questioned whether or not people got that pop culture reference in that movie. But maybe my Top Gun Iceman bite in mime might also be lost. On the
it actually was your face that gave it away there. You had the don't worry, you haven't lost that loving feeling. It'll be okay.
All right, so that's Microsoft. Their conference is on Sunday, June 10th at 12:30 Pacific time, I believe it starts. I think 1 o'clock, somewhere around there. So
yeah, 1 o'clock Pacific, so 4 p.m.
Eastern. Yeah,
Eastern on Sunday
Central for me and DB. All right, so let's jump over to Nintendo. Zeus will keep you on the mic and tell us a little bit about Nintendo.
Yeah, so this is a little weird and interesting for me. I don't normally get the Nintendo baton, but the coin flips fell where they may. This time
who gave you that?
So their press conference is Tuesday, June 12th at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. So smack dab in the middle of the workday. We'll see how that flies. But I guess my feeling is overall as a Switch owner, my big issue and concern is I felt like last holiday season I had to make some like emergency grabs, right, of games that I had missed and bypassed that were releases for the Switch. This year, I felt like I haven't missed anything. B, I haven't had to scramble to keep up with what's coming out for the thing. I'm stocked, right? I have kind of my nuclear bunker stockpile of games for it, but there hasn't been a lot more flowing, at least not things that are in my wheelhouse. So I feel like there's a sputter in, top quality blockbuster titles. Even though, they steadily have games coming out every week, like the eShop is just ridiculous. I mean, it almost feels like a Steam-like thing, right? Stuff comes out so frequently and it's such a clutter. I don't know how anybody makes any sense of what's coming out in the thing. But it's also very temporal. Like, I don't feel like there's a lot of reach back. I feel like you go into the eShop and you grab whatever's there available that's come out like this week or the preceding week. But I feel like there hasn't been a lot of buzz and a lot of conversation about, hey, what top quality like major releases are there for the Switch this year other than Bayonetta. And again, those are rehashes. Rehashes are fine. I'm happy with them. I don't know that they make the entire Switch owning player base pleased. So my question is okay, Nintendo, what do you guys have coming for the rest of 2018? Of course, we know we're getting Smash Brothers. That's a singular thing, and yes, it's an 800-pound whale, and arguably, like, the year that came out on Nintendo 3DS, I don't know that anything else came out on 3DS, and I don't know that anybody cared. And of course, it came out on Wii U, and there wasn't anything going on Wii U, so that was a Hail Mary anyway. But I feel like for the Switch, I feel like the Switch is a console that is more than that and needs more than just Smash Brothers. We've got Mario Tennis coming this summer. I think it actually releases this month. Mario Tennis Aces. But again, is that the big summer title? That's the equivalent of Splatoon 2 and ARMS from last year. That feels questionable. I feel like we had months of conversations leading up to Splatoon 2 and ARMS and lots of conversation. Right now, Mario Tennis Aces isn't on my radar. Does that formulate a large or, some statistically significant percentage of the Switch owner base? Maybe. So I feel like what Nintendo needs to do is they need to come into this conference. They've gotten some very aggressive numbers for Switch sales that they're projecting into 2019. But my question is other than chasing the white whale of this is a thing that I need because so many other people have it, more conscientious gamers as far as hardware purchasers need to be given a reason to go out and buy the Switch that isn't 2017 titles. So I don't know what that is. That's what I feel like they need to show at E3. And we've already mentioned, a Final Fantasy thing here. I don't think Nintendo can hang their hat on, inbound titles from Square Enix, because we all know what happens when you base a lot of your futures on Square Enix.
So up until this week, I would have thought Pokemon would be the other set to be revealed thing to kind of tag team with Smash Brothers, and then they kind of, they put it out there early, and the fact that they're pushing the mainline stuff out another year, and we got like a mobile type game, even though it's on the Switch, is kind of like the Quest mobile thing, and then the Pokemon Go kind of hybrid core games. So in a way, that's a little bit of a disappointment. I agree with you. I don't think Mario Tennis Aces has the, it doesn't capture the zeitgeist like a Splatoon 2. This may just be me personally, but a lot of these Mario themed sports titles, they always seem very second or third tier. They're quality games, well polished, but it's just not the same thing as like a mainline like IP that's designed to be competitive, like Splatoon 2 or Smash Brothers. So, it feels. I definitely sense the lull. And like you, the games that intrigued me about it. We had Kirby. That's a second tier franchise. They're not top tier stuff. They teased Metroid Prime 4 last year, right? Was that at E3 when they just put the logo up?
Yep.
Maybe it's farther along than we anticipate, and that's their big trump card this year. But Stevie's shaking his head, and I'm just throwing that out there. I don't agree with it necessarily, but if you're asking for like what another top tier franchise could be, I don't really think it's going to be Metroid either. I think this is just gonna. I have a feeling this is going to be just the year of Smash Brothers, and we'll see some more later. They're probably going to talk about Yoshi. They did announce that, and but that's not enough either, really.
Do you think we'll see any DLC for Odyssey? That they've built an engine. Do we see something there that is is an update. I mean, they did a single player Splatoon 2 DLC that's coming out this summer. Do you think we see any kind of add-ons to stretch their big franchises?
I mean, my thing with Nintendo that is still weird to me is they're not a big DLC company, right? And it, like, would that not just print money for them? I mean, I feel like they could offer DLC at a higher price point, right, from a ratio perspective than their competitors do, and people would snap it up. So I would like to see that, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it in my bones.
Well, I mean, they've had a DLC with Zelda. They've had what was it, like 3 things that came out with their season pass or whatever it was. They're doing this big thing with Splatoon 2 now. So I don't think they were, but maybe they're starting to get into that mode where they're throwing DLC out there for different things. I think what was the RPG that came out? I can't even remember. Not Fire Emblem.
Xeno.
You own
Yeah.
it.
I know. I can't remember. I haven't played it.
Xenoblade Chronicles or 2.
You purchased the game.
I've only played like an hour or 2. All right, give me a break. It's been like months. I got too many games. Leave me alone.
But that's a great point though, and this is where I'm getting nervous and wonky, right? Because what I still have is I still have Nintendo Wii PTSD, right? I bought this thing. It was super cool. I waited in line for it. It was one of those experiences of my lifetime. I got the thing. It was the hotness for a very short period of time. And then this exact kind of lull is exactly what we started to see and experience. Third-party support just kind of faded into the blackness. Publishers stopped talking about what they were doing to support the Switch. We're not seeing that now. But one of the dynamics I'm concerned about and I want to see at E3 is, and I mentioned this with regards to Bethesda later, Bethesda tends not to talk about the Switch themselves. They let Nintendo talk about how Bethesda's supporting them. I feel like when we know that this thing has really caught fire, we'll start hearing publishers in their press conferences say, here's what we're doing for the Switch. So my big concern is, just like we said, right? Prime has Xenoblade, right? Xenoblade 2 or whatever, hasn't spent a lot of time in the game. He keeps getting pulled back to PUBG on Xbox One. I'll just leave that alone. So he keeps getting pulled back to PUBG on Xbox One. What is there? And I went through the financial report and the presentation for Nintendo in prep for the show. And one of the things they said is that is their mission this year is to maintain continued engagement by owners and gamers on the Switch platform. And I don't feel they're doing that. Like the most exciting things I've done in the last couple of weeks on the Switch have been playing OG Bayonetta, which I have on the PlayStation 3, and I still own my PS3, and playing FIFA 18. So I don't know. I feel like that's what they need to do. I think they need to show some of the UI and UX for the online service. They need to do something that makes it more concrete than vaporware. And I know that they're going to talk about their mobile strategy stuff because it was a big money earner for them last quarter. But my feeling is when they talk about their mobile stuff and Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing and all that stuff on smartphones, great. That doesn't do anything for me as a Switch owner. So just I'm sorry.
Let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
If they come out and they do announce some major franchise iterations or show off more of them, but they're not going to be 2018. They're going to be 2019 releases, and they're upfront about the fact. Would that satisfy you? And just understand we got Smash Brothers coming, and they're on the horizon.
Yeah, it wouldn't satisfy me, but it's Nintendo, so I would give them a pass, right? It's a weird console. I admittedly don't put the same onus on them as I put on some others. I can play FIFA 18 till 2019, right? Fine. I mean, I know other people are going to have things coming out for them. I would like to see some big things from third-party publishers. I would like to see a big racing game show up, not a kart racing game. I would like to see like
Ridge Racer.
The Crew 2 showing up on Switch would be great if they would do that. But my question for you guys is, out of this conference, the Switch is supposed to be this family gaming console. Do you want to see from E3? Do you think they have otherwise let you know what they're doing to continue propping this thing up as the family gaming console?
Sure. I think the leak that came out in terms of what's going to be on their show floor in terms of displays gives a hint of that. I think Overcooked 2 becomes a family gaming, couch co-op game. I think the fact that Fortnite is coming or potentially coming to the Switch satisfies a whole lot of people younger than us. I think that there are some pieces there. There are a couple other games that were in that list, but no, I think there's not a Mario Party. Maybe there is a Mario Party coming, right? There's the leak about, what was it, Star Fox Grand Prix, some type of Star Fox kart racer, something that seems to have some validity behind it, or at least a little momentum. So we'll see if that becomes, again, I think that, any type of kart racing that sticks people in front of a screen together has the potential to count as a family gaming experience. But I don't know if they need anything further than that, because their big game is their family game, right? Is everybody take a part of a Joy-Con and let's go beat each other up in Smash Brothers. Whether or not that I think that becomes their cooperative local multiplayer experience.
Well, and you can even say that too with Pokemon, since you can have a second player pop in that game too. So and of course they have the little Pokeball peripheral that they're going to be releasing too. So I mean that's going to be gangbusters. And another game I did want to mention was Square Enix's Octopath Traveler, which is their RPG, which has just been getting some good buzz. So I think that's coming out this month actually, if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to look it up, but I'll look it up here while I'm talking. But
July 13th.
Oh, is it July? Okay.
Yeah, I had that in the Square Enix agenda. So.
Okay, sorry.
So all those things
steal thunder.
Stealing my.
So all those things.
Approaching on my turns.
Man, wouldn't it be great if there were a Star Fox that came out with multiplayer for the Switch? Like that would be so awesome.
You don't want Star Fox Adventures on the dinosaur planet
2?
I don't. Is it in spaceships?
It's got cute, cuddly dinosaurs.
No, they need Star operative being Star Fox needs to be in spaceships, and they need multiplayer. If Metroid comes out, it needs to have multiplayer. In my mind,
I can see that probably having multiplayer.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
If it's a Prime type game, yeah. All right. So, any other Nintendo business we want to talk about here?
I see what you did there, Prime too. If it's a Prime type game.
Oh.
Hey. Anyways, so let's stay on the mic there because we're jumping over to Sony. If you want to tell us about Sony,
all right, so
what they got coming out for 2019.
I think that a lot of their intrigue has kind of petered out, because there was a time there when there was all those kind of chip rumors and everybody's like started to get some buzz on the PS5, and then they're like, yeah, no, we're not doing the hardware on at E3 2018. So that's not going to happen. So it's going to be on the games. As I was looking at the list, they got some cool stuff coming. I mean, they got The Last of Us Part 2. I don't think we have a release date yet, and it's, as you alluded to, I believe is that going to be 2019? I was assuming that might be this holiday season, but did they officially say that?
I thought they had.
Yeah, I thought it was this year.
Last of Us? No, I don't think so. I don't even know.
I couldn't find the release date.
So my understanding was we originally thought that Days Gone was calendar year 2018, but it got pushed to calendar year 2019 supposedly. So, well, it got delayed, and my understanding was that game was not. What was it that?
They have shown a whole lot more about Days Gone than they have about Last of Us 2.
Right, which is why I don't understand the delay. But my understanding was it was originally slated for 2018 because they weren't doing Last of Us 2 in 2018. So it may not be official, but I think it's, I don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see a release date for Last of Us 2. According to Google, I can't find one. So, and then you have Days Gone. I know that's in 2019. Spider-Man was big last year and September 7th this year. So we're going to see more of that, but that's nothing special I mean, it's nothing new. I'm sure Media Molecule, another of their developed teams, making that Dreams game, which is like a really it feels like something from the Cannes Film Festival, like artsy sandbox. It's a little weird. I believe that's 2018 from what I saw. Death Stranding, we're going to see more than a bizarre Hideo Kojima trailer. Perhaps that's going to be hopefully 2018. I haven't heard one way or the other. But here's a game that does excite me, and I believe the rumors are it's coming out in 2018, but this is Sucker Punch's game, Ghost of Tsushima. And this is the open world samurai game. And like, I'm excited about this game. And I think if it's going to be like one of their tentpole 2018 releases, and we got some gameplay coming and everything. DV's already shaking his head.
No, I think it is going to be one of their
like,
tentpole games. I just don't think it's going to be 2018, right? I mean, they've announced that it's going to be one of their big 4 games, and Sony's been out in front about this. That there's going to be 4 big games that they're going to focus on, and Ghost of Tsushima is one of them. But I don't see how that has a 2018 date on it.
They announced it back in August, right? August of 2017. So it's not like it just came out like a month ago, or this is going to be a new reveal. Like, it's been a year, but
Swiss, they announced Days Gone 3 years ago. So right. I don't.
Well, we know what we're looking for with Sony, which is release dates. I was trying to be glass half full and being like, man, they got some cool stuff coming down the pipe. But you guys are all pessimists.
I think they do have cool stuff coming down the pipe. I just don't know that there's dates attached to it.
No. Well, September 7th for Spider-Man, which we already know. But honestly, that game doesn't intrigue me that much. So, I mean, Sony, hopefully they'll impress us with some sort of a roadmap of their tentpole releases, and it's all not some murky holiday 2019 kind of implications coming out. But for me, like, looking at Ghost of Tsushima, I was like, that has a dark horse game of show written all over it to me. But if you guys don't think it's going to be much more than another maybe video presentation, perhaps Sony is just content to allow the anthems and the anthems of the world, and Square Enix has some big releases. Well, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out this year. They're announcing the release date at E3, so maybe they're going to depend on their third party affiliates type things to carry the day.
I'm actually expecting the Sony press conference to be more like Ubisoft's from last year. I think Sean Layden has come out and said that it is not going to be the trailer reel that they did last year, where like the dude just kept coming out like every 10 or 15 minutes to announce the next trailer, right? I think they said they're definitely swerving away from that, and but they expect these more intimate like discussions with like the creative director and the lead developers and stuff for each of the major games. So we may get fewer trailers. We may get like a Rickroll reel kind of at the end of like 6-7 games. But
are we going to get a Battlefield 5 interview?
That would happen on EA stage, right?
No, I mean like a la the Battlefield 5 reveal, which was not a very effective use of time.
No, I think, like I said, I think we're going to get more of the Ubisoft game, right? Ubisoft's press conference from last year, where Sean Layden's out on stage most of the time, and he brings up the development leads and the creative directors to give them a chance to kind of emotionally and with a lot of compassion, like, detail to people and communicate and convey to gamers what their game is about. I'm thinking more of kind of like the things that you heard from the God of War creative director this year in interviews in the lead up to their game. I think particularly for their exclusive titles, there's much more of a desire for those teams to communicate to people what those games are. So I think we're going to see that for Last of Us 2. I think we're going to see that for Days Gone. Because Days Gone right now has a very muddled message from the footage people saw as far as like what that game really is in total. People saw like a microscopic slice of gameplay, and they've extrapolated a lot of assumptions, and that's like one slice out of like 60 hours of gameplay in a very large world. So I think I'm thinking that a lot of the Sony press conference is going to be the Ubisoft format with creative directors and lead developers being able to kind of set the story straight on what their games are about.
DB, so what are you expecting other than a lot of non-2018 announcements?
No, I don't mean to be that down on Sony, because in the past years I've been the poster boy of cheering them on in terms of their announcements. I think that last month or this current month's Game Informer had a huge kind of spread on Days Gone. Most information I've seen about that game ever in terms of some of its gameplay, and so there's a lot more information out there. I think what Sony can do and what they will do is, they've got those 4 big games that they've said. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. We're probably going to get some gameplay out of them, but they're also in a very, unlike the Microsoft conversation we just had about making them dangerous, Sony doesn't have to really do anything besides just show that they're still, they're not suddenly increasing the price of PS Plus by double and shutting off people's access, right? I mean, that they're in a position where all they have to do is show that there's still some games coming out. They're going to give you a tentpole game next spring. They're going to give you a tentpole game next fall. And look at all these third parties, right? The Sony's going to have Call of Duty is going to be up on stage. Destiny is going to be up on their stage, toting, both of those Activision properties are going to be talking about why playing it on PlayStation gives them exclusive content.
One other note on Sony before we move on. I think they did announce today that they will be making some announcements ahead of time. So tomorrow, for the next 5 days at 11 a.m. Eastern time, they plan to announce, quote, 3 new games, a release date for an upcoming game, most likely a PS4 exclusive, and details of, quote, an eagerly anticipated game coming to PSVR, which we didn't talk about, but I don't know how much they're really going to push PSVR. I think that would be a disappointment if they sent in their whole spiel around PSVR. That would be what would frustrate me as a gamer.
Yeah, and I mean, I voiced problems with this last year, right? Because this is what I think they did with Gran Turismo, which, a lot of there were key elements of content that happened off screen at E3, or just in not the core presentation, that really bugged me about their press conference, particularly with regards to Gran Turismo. So I'm hoping that they don't kind of they're going to repeat it. It sounds like, but I hope that's not primary things that kind of garble the message with their primary keynote.
Yeah, didn't they do a pre-conference show or something where they showed a lot of stuff?
Yeah, they did a pre-conference show, and that's where I think most of the Gran Turismo content was. And
yeah,
I'm like,
a lot of other stuff too, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
All right. So any more Sony goodness from you guys? I got nothing because I don't have Sony, so fortunately I don't follow them. So let's jump into the next developer. We got EA by DBQ.
So I'm going to go fast because we are hitting our time and then some. So EA, I think we're going to see a lot of Anthem, right? We talked about this earlier on the podcast, that we're going to see Anthem. We know that EA has told their investors that it's going to come out this fiscal year. I think we're also going to see, as Agasicles has mentioned, we're going to see them avoid, to as much as they can, any mention of Star Wars Battlefront or loot boxes. I think that's going to end up, hitting their narrative quite a bit, right? Just like it did during the Battlefield 5 reveal, in terms of the fact that things get cheers when there's no loot boxes announced, or at least pay to win aspects of that. So I think we're going to see a lot of Anthem. We're going to see a lot of sports. And then the real question, I think EA always ends up highlighting some type of indie game, right? 2 years ago it was Unravel. Last year it was Faye and A Way Out. They're gonna, do a little bit of something on an indie piece there. We're gonna see a lot of Battlefield 5. I think we know a lot of the properties that are going to come out on the EA stage. We're going to see why FIFA and Madden are still going to be great this year. We're probably going to see some new ball physics with NBA Live and why they're going to be competitive. I think the dark horses here on EA are, do we see anything Star Wars? They paid a lot for that license and they've had a couple failed games out of it. Do they show anything there, or do they wait until there's something more fully cooked? And do we see anything racing-wise, right? We got good sales out of Burnout. Are they testing the waters there? Do they do anything racing-wise? And so I think that's a question too.
I was going to ask you, do you think we see a Need for Speed this year since they had a bad year last year?
Well, no, I don't know that we would, right? I think that a Need for Speed they could sit on, and they did have a bad year last year. We were in like a 2-year cycle on Need for Speed potentially, so they could sit on that and let their loot box gambling slot system that they had within Need for Speed Payback, which again they also took out eventually, just like Star Wars. I don't know that we see anything on the Need for Speed brand. I wonder if they do anything, if Burnout has sold enough that they do something there, or I guess so those are my, it's been 2 years since the Titanfall. Do we see anything there? We know Respawn's working on a Star Wars game. We know that EA has committed to Titanfall as a series. I think that those are my questions. I think there's a lot of known quantities, but there's a few dark horses that may sneak in.
And I thought we got an official announcement of Titanfall 3, or at least that they were working on it.
I think we got a commitment from EA that they are not abandoning the franchise.
I think there was a rumor going around that Titanfall 3 was going to pop up. Something popped up about Titanfall 3. So I don't think there was anything official yet, as far as I know. Yeah.
That would be, I'd be pleasantly surprised if that happened.
Another game I haven't played a lot of.
So that is a quick EA rundown. We'll see that on Saturday. So we're going to know more there soon. Sunday, we've got Sunday night with Bethesda, and we know a little bit about Bethesda because of leaks, whether it's through Walmart or through their own announcements here. But what do you think their Gasicles is going to be out on the stage for Bethesda on Sunday night?
Yeah, so for Bethesda, this is again another unusual assignment for me because I don't play what people know Bethesda for, which are the big Fallout and Skyrim and all that kind of stuff.
Who created this list?
So their press conference is Sunday, the 10th of June at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. Wolfenstein 2 is out on the Switch this month. Again, as I mentioned before, but the thing about Bethesda and this weird relationship that they have is they tend not to talk about that a lot themselves. They'll let Nintendo mention that. Actually, the thing that I surprisingly got excited for tonight as I watched the trailer was Fallout 76. That trailer is up on their website, on their E3 page, so we know that it's going to be talked about and discussed at E3. It takes place in West Virginia in the vaunted Vault 76, which my wife and her side of the family are from West Virginia. So when I played the trailer and heard Mountain Mama being played, which is the song that I always use to tease them about their West Virginia roots, I was like, well, there it is. I guess I got to play that. So I'm actually very interested. And curiously, I'm also excited for Rage 2. I was one of the few people who got into that on Rage. I actually use it as a game to test a MacBook Pro that I had a couple years ago to see if it still had gaming chops. And so actually, I'm a little invested in that franchise, and I'm excited to see, at least from a technology perspective, what that's going to do. And very excited about the notion of playing that on a PC, in this area of NVIDIA GTX cards, even though NVIDIA has not given us new architecture, but that's another topic. They also mentioned on their website that they are also going to have a few surprises more, and that's what's potentially the exciting and interesting thing. Obviously, there's the potential for some Dishonored content, a new game in that franchise. Spin-offs are possible from that franchise. We had Prey last year, so there have been rumors and some, at least nascent confirmation of Prey DLC, so I think that'll be interesting to see. And I'm also curious to see if they're going to announce an additional thing for the Switch. Again, I mentioned they don't talk about it a lot, but they may at least go so far as to make an announcement. There has been speculation. I'll give credit to Game Over Greggy over on the Kind of Funny Games show network. Has speculated that maybe it's a Fallout 3 that they may do as a rehash for the Nintendo Switch, just because from a technology perspective, it's something that should be capable of running on that hardware. And I guess this month or this year is like their 10th anniversary of the release of Fallout 3 or something. I don't know how nostalgic people are for that franchise, but again, as far as I'm concerned, you can take every game and put it on the Switch, and just makes things better when you can take it on the go. The other thing that occurred to me tonight is, particularly with the advent of Rage 2, and then you also look at how crazy and insane the violence is in Wolfenstein 2, Bethesda kind of has this weird undercurrent image theme, I think, that they're developing of being the purveyors of ultra-violent first-person shooters that are very bloody and gory, in a kind of this very way over the top, make believe kind of way, but with like real human beings. Whereas like Bayonetta is ultra violent, but it's much more kind of fantastical. So I just thought that was a curious thing, and to see if they just continue to lean into that in this E3, and therefore, could we get something else being announced along the lines of a Rage 2, Wolfenstein 2? I would kind of like to see and be interested to see new IP in the first-person shooter genre. Bethesda should have the chops and capability to weave something as masterful as kind of like a Half-Life franchise. So it would be interesting to see them take this first-person shooter genre, which is kind of becoming a niche expertise for them, and elevating that to being one of their forefront IPs rather than being kind of its like tier 2 stuff that comes after their big masterful RPGs. So I don't know if you guys had any additional thoughts or comments on that.
Well, go ahead, DB.
Oh, I was just going to say, are there any other kind of legacy IPs that Bethesda owns that we haven't seen kind of cycle back around?
Well, I was about to mention a little Elder Scrolls, maybe a little something. I probably won't hear anything, but maybe like a teaser trailer, I would think. Hopefully, maybe. I don't know. I'm really hoping, because there hasn't been one for a while now. So, I mean, I know they're kind of riding Skyrim's coattails with re-releasing that like every year or so, like every other year. But I'm hoping we'll see us Elder Scrolls. What would it be? 6, I think, technically. I'm not even sure, but just something from that series other than their card game that they've released, and I think they just changed developers on that too, I believe. So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see something.
I think the Elder Scrolls content you see is the stuff that's releasing this week with Elder Scrolls Online, right? The Somerset.
Yeah, Somerset.
And you see some of that. I don't know that you see anything more yet.
Yeah, maybe they'll not announce another big DLC for that for the online sometime in the fall or something. So we'll see, or early next year. All right. Any other Bethesda goodness?
I think there's people afraid of Fallout 76, a little bit nervous about what that will entail, because I don't think the speculation is that it's not like a mainline Fallout game, and so we'll see how, I guess, kind of meaty it actually ends up being, or if it's some sort of kind of more experimental type thing. But
well, it's kind of also Han Solo-ish, right? In that it's, we've never gone back to Vault 76, which is like where this really kind of the Fallout, what do I want to say, DB? Not legend, not iconography, Fallout lore kind of starts, right? We've always been somewhere forward of that, and Vault 76 has been a legend. So this is a little risky to go back and touch on that. Just some other franchises that it turns out Bethesda does have is that they've done before is they did Wet, which kind of underfell expectations.
Wasn't that a movie as well? Right?
Maybe.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know if they were related.
I know it was a well-known actress did the voiceover. Eliza Dushku. She did the voice work. She's from Buffy and Angel and all those.
Oh yes, yeah. Very familiar. They've of course they also have Doom in their IP farm. What is the other thing that I wanted to mention? Quake. I guess they've been publishers on Quake before, but I don't know if they still have that.
I don't know.
I guess they do. So there you go. Quake, Doom, and whatever the other thing was that I meant, and Wet.
Wet.
And Brink. It would be interesting to see
Brink,
if they brought Brink up.
But actually, that's what kind of Rage 2 reminded me of a little bit when I was
Yeah.
watching the trailer.
They were kind of games of similar ilk of a time in the Xbox 360 era. So
yeah. All right, cool. So up next we got Swiss again, Captain Swiss with Square Enix. What do you got for us, Swiss?
Yeah, the thing that intrigued me, I didn't realize it hasn't been since 2015 that Square Enix has actually participated at E3 in a way. So hopefully that portends some big announcements or reveals, or just progress. So we know we got Kingdom Hearts 3. They've said that they're going to announce the trailer at E3. They got a couple of games coming out this fall. So we know we're getting Shadow of the Tomb Raider. The release date September 14th, and Dragon Quest 11 should be a big tentpole, classic JRPG game, is being released to the North America September 4th. So I think I've just been starting to see some stories. They've already started some gameplay. I guess those NDAs are starting to be lifted, and different units have been playing a little bit of Dragon Quest 11. So I don't know how much they're going to push that game at E3 because it's relatively known now. But that's coming down. Dragon Quest Builders 2. I don't think we have a release date for that yet. The two big kind of question marks for games. The Final Fantasy VII Remake, which has been around seemingly forever. Will they actually show some gameplay? Will they set up relative release date? Is this the time when they actually say, yeah, it's coming? The other thing, which is probably more likely given timelines and movie tie-ins, is the Avengers project, which there's not that much known about it. There's like a teaser where they show, kind of broken up pieces of the core Avengers equipment, and the speculation is this is Square Enix's kind of destiny. I think multiple game license that they have to do it. So we only have a teaser at the moment. Will that be a big push now? We're coming off Infinity War. So I think Square Enix can go a couple of different ways depending on what they announce. If these Final Fantasy VII and the Avengers are prominently featured, they can have a very, very popular show. And if they just kind of show off Dragon Quest 11 and Kingdom Hearts 3 and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which they're known commodities at this point, I think it would be a disappointment. I think people are expecting some fresh information. So I don't know how. I know that Zeus or Gascles is there's probably not much here. The Avengers project. I don't know how much Gascles has interest in these games, but
zero. None.
Yeah.
None. Yeah. Sorry.
For fans of JRPGs, like I'm kind of excited, but
it's just their unreliability in release schedules. Like I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very interested in Dragon Quest 11. I think that's, but I also have no hope or faith that anything related to the Avengers projects shows up this year. I think that given how long whatever Kingdom Hearts 3 is and has been in development, I think that the Avengers projects are just they're further out than any of us would like. I agree with you completely on the synergy of it. It would be perfect, and they would be printing money if they could get an Avengers out around the same time that the Avengers Infinity War Blu-rays hit this holiday season, right? I mean, those are a nice 1-2 combo in terms of popularity for somebody walking through the aisles of Target and Walmart.
They're painting rocks, DB. They got hundreds of artists painting rocks. They got to get them rocks perfect.
Oh, I thought they were doing undersides of cars still. Oh wait, no, that's polyphony. Sorry, my bad. Yes, Square Enix still takes time. So anyhow, moving on.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of excited for Dragon Quest just because I've been playing Dragon Quest Builders. I know, the regular mainline Dragon Quest is more of a, hardcore RPG. So I'm looking forward to that. And, Avengers too, big comic book fan. So whenever that rears its head, I'll eat that news all up. So we'll see what happens with that. So finally for this segment, we have Ubisoft. That's me. Completely forgot that I had that, but I did do some quick research. And Ubisoft's been pretty solid, I think, at least for the last couple of years, even last year's conference. They showed a lot of things, but this year, let's see, their conference is. I can come back to my thing here, Monday, June 11th at 1 p.m. Pacific. But they got some games that they're actually going to show off here. They got Beyond Good and Evil 2, which I believe they had showed off a little clip. I think it was last week of like a woman fighting on the ship. She's just kind of doing moves with like a staff, I think, or a sword, I believe it was. Just another little quick clip, like kind of, well, I guess last year's clip was a little bit more than just that, but they showed a little bit more. But hopefully they're going to show a lot more actually gameplay instead of just the ship kind of in the air above like a city or an island or whatever is like below them. They got the Division 2 that was announced. Something called Transference, which I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if that's a VR game, maybe. I know they had some VR games too, I think, that they were going to show. And then they had Starlink Beta for Atlas, which was their Toys to Life game that they showed off last year, which I would have figured would have came out this year, but we never really saw anything else about that. So they're supposed to show that off. And then also some more stuff on For Honor and Rainbow Six Siege, which I know they're kind of doing like the season thing, like each year that they throw out there. So I'm sure there'll be more DLC and more maps and what are they called, specialists or something like that in Siege? I forgot what they're called. Just the different players you can choose from. So, and same thing for Honor, the different like they have samurais and stuff like that, Vikings, I think. But there's something else here. Something I mentioned before, maybe a new Splinter Cell possibly being announced, since they had the Splinter Cell DLC for the Wildlands this past few months ago, or a couple months ago. So hopefully, and I think there were some other like trademarks maybe that were being filed or like URL, website URLs that were being, scooped up. So maybe a Watch Dogs 3. I guess there been some hints, like subtle hints, that maybe something's going to be announced for that. I know I think they said that there were going to be 2, maybe 3 like big game announcements.
Yeah, in their earnings call, they had a statement that basically said that they've got the Division 2 and I'm trying to remember, and one other big game, unreleased major franchise, right? So whether that's a Splinter Cell or whether that's Watch Dogs, I think that it was also happened again. That happened before the leak of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So, but there's something out there still that Ubisoft has the ability to unveil to people.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll see. And then obviously Skull and Bones has been delayed. I'm sure they'll probably show a little bit more of that. So we'll see. And then obviously the Crew 2 is already going to be coming out. I think this month. It's supposed to come out this month, I believe we mentioned.
End of June. Yep.
Yeah. And then their biggest franchise, which nobody talked about yet, Just Dance 2019. I'm sure that'll be announced. That's a mainstay. So, and then of course we got DLC for Far Cry 5, which I think that's pretty much been laid out. But I'm sure they'll probably show some trailers and stuff just for each thing, maybe, or at least for the next one coming out. I think the one has dropped already, I believe, if I remember correctly, or maybe it's coming out soon. It's like the Vietnam era one, I believe. So we'll see. Anything from Ubisoft that you guys? Obviously, we talked about Skull and Bones, but anything else that you want to see come out or excited for?
I'm really interested in the Division 2 in terms of what that looks like, right? I think that the Division and Massive have really stuck with it in terms of their iterations and development on that with their big patch that came out this December. So I'm really curious to see, after being excited and enjoying and feeling burned out by Destiny 2 and eventually coming back to it, to see if, as Destiny 2 becomes more and more like Destiny 1, I'm really curious to see the direction that the Division 2 takes in terms of where it learns its lessons and where it tries to iterate.
I'm just excited to see and hear Ubisoft, right? They've somehow quickly made themselves the big publisher that you can love, right? And this is their return from the ashes after years ago they went on this whole DRM tirade, where their Assassin's Creed versions on PC, they were tightly coupling them to you being required to sign in via an Ubi account. So they've backed up and walked away from that. In the meantime, Activision and EA have eaten themselves up in the flames of their own perditions, and now Ubi seems to be the one publisher standing around, recently liberated from the tendrils of Vivendi. So it's exciting to see what they're gonna kind of do going forward here.
I want a new Rayman.
A new, a new Rayman. A new Rayman, as some of the podcasters I listen to, or some of the podcasts say. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool to have a new Rayman out there. That's another game that keeps getting reiterated each year for different systems. So it'd be nice to have a new one. So yeah, I think that's Ubisoft's been pretty solid the last few years. So hopefully they'll continue that. Hopefully they don't go too goofy like they have in the past. I think they've calmed down on that a little bit with the goofiness on their stage, and so we'll see. So real quick, as we wind down here, since we're running a little longer than usual. Obviously, this is a big show, but I just want to go through each of you guys real quick to see what some of the, like, maybe the number one prediction or number one thing you want to see come out of E3. Maybe like the fantasy thing. Maybe it's way out there. Maybe it's not going to happen, but something you want to see that's gonna happen out of E3. So let's go with you, Mr. Captain Swiss. What do you want to see come out of E3? Maybe your
I want to see a trailer for Metroid Prime 4.
Actual gameplay.
And I want to see Ghost of Tsushima gameplay. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. How about you, Gascles? What do you want to see coming out of E3? A prediction or most wanted game or such thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my assignments just because I don't know any better thing to do. I'm gonna say I'm expecting the big announcements that take air out of the rooms, or that takes air out of the room, are going to be from Bethesda. I think there, a few more surprises is going to be something big, and I think the publishers are going to be again the news of this year's show, just like they were last year, more so than the console manufacturers. I think Bethesda is going to announce something big that's going to surprise everyone, and I think Microsoft is going to come to the PC presentation, which is I think the last presentation that goes in the E3 conference schedule, and announce something big about games as a service that's going to knock everybody off their feet. And really turn the industry on its head from a PC gaming perspective is my prediction. What I want to see more core games announced, at least 2 or 3 more for the Switch in terms of from third parties. So I want a big first-person shooter, story-driven single-player experience with multiplayer, and I want to see a big racing game franchise. Even though we said it wouldn't happen, I'm just realizing now I've played 16 of the 24 Need for Speed games in the franchise, but I have not played a Need for Speed game since 2013's Need for Speed Rivals. So I have largely departed that franchise. I would love to see them make a comeback that brings me back.
Nice. And Mr. DBQ Hams, what do you got?
Gentlemen, first I want to say thank you, because up until this morning, I was not excited about E3 at all, and prepping for the show, talking with you guys, kind of feeling the energy about it, I am much more energized about coming into E3. In part, I wasn't that excited because it feels like we've seen so many, whether it's leaks or announcements. I don't know that there was a whole lot of surprises that I was kind of anticipating. I'm with Eglacicles in terms of, I think one of the big things that I'm looking forward to potentially seeing is how Microsoft positions themselves and what they do in the PC market, and kind of how they straddle that line. I think that has the potential within kind of the industry aspects to be a really interesting move. I'm personally kind of interested to see how Anthem and the Division 2 play out in terms of where they position themselves in that kind of looter shooter aspect. I don't know that there's a whole lot on the Nintendo plate that I would love to be surprised. But I don't really know where they are in the pipeline. So I don't have a whole lot that I'm looking forward to, but I really would love to be proven wrong.
All right, nice. And as for me, the one prediction I will say is Phil Spencer will get on stage during the Microsoft conference, probably at the beginning, and say games, games, games at least once, because he's done it the last two conferences. So, but other than that, I just think, well, I'm really hoping that each of the major publishers or major developers, Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo, will wow us at least with one thing. They'll throw something out there that that just we weren't even expecting. So just out of left field. They've kind of done that in the past, at least a couple of them. So hopefully, all three of them can, go out there and show us something. As far as what I want, I would really like to see Animal Crossing show up for the Switch, at least something, some kind of trailer, teaser, something. I mean, I know it might be a lot of you guys' games, but I for some reason I got into that game hardcore when it came out on the actually on the Wii U. I don't think I ever played it on, or actually the DS. I never played it on the original one back on the 64 or GameCube. I think it came out on. So I'm really hoping we get an announcement of some kind. I know a lot of people have been saying that too. And my crazy prediction: Master Chief and Smash. I'm going to say it right here, I'm predicting that. That's my crazy prediction. So
I didn't give my crazy prediction.
Go ahead.
We're going to see a reiteration in Nintendo fashion. We're going to see a revamp of an existing franchise or a remake. Donkey Kong Jungle Beat with the peripherals. We're going to have Joy-Con bongos.
Nice.
So
that'd be something. All right. So to finish out here, I'm going to give you the schedule for the next coming week. So we'll have our usual Tuesday and Thursday game, but we're actually going to start on Sunday, June 10th, with analysis on EA, since they're going on Saturday, and Microsoft, and actually probably just those two, because Bethesda will probably be going on when we're doing that show. Tuesday, June 12th, we'll be on our normal show, which is enough to keep going, but we'll be giving E3 analysis on Square Enix. Most likely Square Enix, Ubisoft, and Sony. That might change a little depending on how Nintendo goes. If there's any major stuff that comes out, maybe we'll bump Ubisoft and Enix, and we'll stick with Sony because Sony's going at the end of the day on Monday. And then Thursday, June 14th, scheduled for right now, is Nintendo and the PC gaming show. We'll go over that. Once again, that might be changing up. It's a little fluid right now. We'll see how everything else goes. And also on that Thursday show, we'll wrap up just kind of the general discussion on how the show went and everything like that, and some of the other publishers that came out, Take-Two, Activision, Capcom. We have THQ Nordic, but they're not going to be there, as I found out when I was doing research, because they're going to be watching the World Cup. So, but they have a bunch of games that maybe they'll just be thrown out there from Microsoft or Sony or something like that. So we'll see. We'll see if we see anything from them, but they won't have a presence on the show floor. So I think we are done, gentlemen. Any last words on E3? I know I'm glad to hear, DB, that you're excited now for E3. We got you excited. That's a good thing. Anything from anybody else? No? All right. So that is episode 48 in the books for Tuesday, June 5th. And we will see you on Sunday and the rest of next week for our E3 extravaganza. Hope you have a good night, and we will see you in a little bit.